Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my Bernard.
Yes. Hello. Today we are recording on May the 4th, Star Wars Day. As I picture wrestling fans there on the bridge of the second Death Star, watching Darth Vader turn good and throw the Emperor down that thing he threw him. And that should come back reasonable later in our show.
Very much so. Absolutely. My favorite meme is the one that I shared earlier today. It's on this day, May 4th. We remember all the independent contractors that were on the rebuilding of the second Death Star.
Yes, there was plumbers there.
Exactly.
Sure.
It's a great scene from Clerks. I don't know if you've ever seen it, where they're arguing about where they, shouldn't the rebellion feel bad for killing all of those, because there's no way it could be all, Imperial forces building that they killed a lot of innocent people on that Death Star being rebuilt. So
I've seen that movie so many times, but I cannot remember all the lines. It's I drink heavily.
Yeah.
So on to our topics today. We have a barn burner for you folks.
Yeah, man. It's everybody. This week we were, as we normally do, we were looking at like, man, it's going to be tough for topics. But some scoops came in. I got some emails and some texts and some phone calls, and this, it was just wow. And you sat in on the phone call that we were discussing.
It's another one of those shows where we go, can we say this? Is it okay for us to say this? And it is.
Yeah, we were given the green light to go, discuss a lot of this stuff, because you always talk about when sources come in, those the Source brothers, right, that are always got some cool stuff to tell us. But we wanted to go ahead and straight out of the gate jump into something juicy. Obviously, last week it kind of picked up a lot of steam that there was a potential for a Fox/Disney/ESPN purchase of WWE. Because a source had kind of given me a text and was like, "Hey, they hired a third-party evaluator to come in and look at what the value of WWE is. Your standard format is take annual revenue times 4, gives you a basic guideline, but they didn't do it that way because lots of the assets that they own, there was a lot more value to that." And the number that we were given was a little over $7 billion versus, it was like, wow.
And it's a situation where these are wrestling assets that people think could be marketed more effectively than they're doing it. So that's why probably the revenue figure was off.
Well, there's so much. There's the content library. There's IP that they own. There's actually physical, assets that they own. Lots of that stuff was the whys is it was what the value was. And I mean, that's not our expertise. That was somebody that was giving us those. But who was the buyer? That's been the question. Obviously, was it Fox? Was it Disney/ESPN, whatever? And from what we were told is that it's actually primarily it's Fox is the leader out of the gate, and supposedly, Dutch Mantell put that tweet out, or Facebook post where it was a tweet, and there's a lot of steam to it. The only ESPN involvement that we're hearing is that they're potentially interested in getting the Big Four, the pay-per-views, to air on the ESPN Plus app, like as a pay-per-view kind of a la they do the UFC. But the other rumor was they may potentially just want to air them like the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it might be like that. Fox has an app. They may need it for their app. It's acquiring a massive pile of content. So you're starting a streaming service or you're starting a television channel. And right now, nobody has content. We're about to start watching Korean baseball is what I hear.
Yeah, ESPN signed a deal today to air Korean baseball organization. Yeah.
So I think folks want some wrestling. Now, folks ain't watching wrestling on TV right now, but there's value there. And I think they're going to try to do something with it.
Right, and I think that's ultimately the thing that people are missing the boat on, is everybody likes to point out the ratings are down, whatever. There's still a demographic that's still watching wrestling. And I think Fox's approach to what they're looking at is totally different than what your typical deal made. Like, let's say, for example, we've already heard the rumor. So the grumblings of what happens to USA Network if they sign, if this deal is signed. And what we're being told is that USA is ready to get out of their deals. If this deal is signed, they're openly ready to let Raw and NXT go because of what we were talking about earlier. they're ready to get out of the demographic. They're ready to chase down essentially, 50-year-old women,
Shows.
housewives.
Real housewife shows.
Because if you let me ask you, Myron, when you take out wrestling, what is on USA Network now?
I have no idea.
Dude. Okay,
My
first of
TV's
all,
never on it besides wrestling.
Law and Order SVU is Chicago PD, Modern Family,
Court.
and Psych.
I love Modern Family. I try not to watch Law and Order SVU because it's disturbing. And I'm fragile. I'll be honest. But I really, if you compare what's on at my house, if you were to see a TV watchage, if we're going to call it watchage, it's women's programming, because I go play video games because it's another movie about this man was killed by his wife. This man was killed by his wife and how she got away with it. That's what's on TV at my house a lot. I'm really hoping this is not kind of indicative of any plans.
It's research.
It's not research material, but women-centric television is on because my girlfriend, that is her thing. Even if she's doing something else, the TV has to be on. Me, I watch what I want to watch, and then I go off and do something else. I play video games. I watch wrestling. I look at YouTube. Just having the TV on is not my thing, but the women's market is probably more lucrative because they control a lot of the household purchases.
Well, I think the type of advertising they're looking for is different than that male 18 to 34 demo, which is clearly what Fox is chasing. Because, and everybody asks, well, the ratings are now, why would they benefit? Because think about what they do with the NFL. Think about what they do with baseball. Think about what they do with NASCAR. All the above. They program and they shove their advertising into the program.
Yes.
Across the board. They take their products and it's not a commercial. Like, it is shoved into the actual product itself.
You have your commentators talking. You have your bars going across the bottom of the screen. NASCAR on Fox, brought to you by oil or tires and that kind of thing. It's brilliant. They market the hell out of that. Cross promote. NFL cross promotes the Snickers halftime report, whatever you want to call it. It's business. It's like the first time when they put a can of Coca-Cola in ET. Okay, they're putting cans of Coca-Cola on everything they do, and they make money. And Michael Cole can pitch stuff. He's done it on TV. He pitched the network every 10-15 minutes on a Raw show. So maybe so, folks. Maybe this is a great opportunity for them.
Yeah, it fits their model, and I know a lot of people are like, well, the ratings doesn't matter, folks. I mean, plus you got to remember they're a content company, and they're looking at, like, they would inherit the network, obviously, so they get all of that content, that video library, and then the rumors are it could be separate. They could merge it into the Fox Sports app to build value into the Fox Sports app that they already have. We've heard rumor of potentially a channel on a lower tier cable package where it's kind of works a la the streaming, because you could take all of the content and basically build a 24/7 wrestling channel, but it's not on demand. It literally will be they're airing specific things in certain orders. So if you want to watch it on demand, then that's what the WWE Network's for. Or the Fox Sports app would be for it.
Shame Joe Pedicino just died, because he would be having him on 24-hour wrestling, man. How cool would that be?
That would be awesome. So I think it's lots of things that people need to kind of understand the business structure of it.
Well, WWE has disposable programming, like Ride Along, or some of that other stuff that they can just stick in places. Who gets the Total Diva stuff when they sell this? Does it leave USA? Does Ms. and Mrs. leave USA and go one of the Fox channels? They got a lot of programming behind all this. That's a marketable tool. And people got to fill holes in content. You got to have advertisers. You got to have stuff to put on TV to make advertisers want to advertise.
Well, what you talked about shoving product, or content into different places. One of the things we were talking about on that call was like, yeah, exactly, like Ride Along. Let's on Fox Sports 1, Ride Along follows Braves baseball, on Tuesday night or whatever. Braves game runs long. It doesn't hurt anything that they just do a post game show and it rolls right into the next show, and then they can use it again later or something or whatever.
Yeah.
Just to have that non-time sensitive content that they also have. And then we've heard rumor of you know, bless you, of animated stuff coming back. They had some on the network, but we're talking they could do more kids stuff and put it on Fox on Saturday mornings.
Oh yeah, like
Go
Hogan.
Rock and Wrestling Connect, yeah, the cartoon, go back in the day, kind of the same thing. Um, so there's lots of, again, you have to look at it from a business of what they could potentially do with this product, but looking at it as a business is not necessarily all good.
Wrestling's not a business. Wrestling's about entertainment for us to enjoy and have our memories and have all of our like touchy feelies, and we got to take care of the boys and that kind of stuff. If they run it like a business,
that unfortunately is the thing, because one of the things we had heard was that potentially there are, obviously it's gotten this far that Fox is going through the books. They're looking through some of the numbers. And one of the rumors that we were given that I was stunned by, there's another list of about 40 names of guys that are on the block. That's 40 from WWE to NXT. That, because when when Fox was looking at this, when we talk about looking at it as a business, if you're not a merchandise driver, you're not a needle mover, you're just not a great investment, in a wrestling business.
They don't want to show losing games on television for NFL. They don't want to show bad teams. They want to get the teams everybody wants to see, large market winning teams. And that's going to be what it's going to be like. Maybe there'll be some benefit. Maybe the boys will get insurance. Maybe the boys will get 401ks. Maybe the boys will be taken care of. Like you would if you were any other professional sport.
Well, they discussed, like I said, one of the things being discussed is, a lot more cinematic style, seasonal based, possibly, product of some kind. Now, what that looks like,
entertainment programming, which would get them in, say, the Screen Actors Guild or something like that. It would be a better place for the boys. But
that said, that's
Fox knows nothing about wrestling, though. How are they going to know how to book this stuff?
Well, we're still talking key man agreements. I'm sure Triple H, Stephanie, maybe Kevin Dunn. I don't know.
He just unloaded a bunch of stock again.
Yes. Which isn't stupid. It's, it just depends on when you got it. Yeah. But the thing that was concerned is, those guys are going to get deals, but it's going to be over creative and such like that. Fox completely wants to retain rights to like roster control, all of that, themselves. So basically it'll be, hey, Sheamus, you're fired, but they're going to tell that to Triple H and tell Triple H to go tell him.
Yeah.
And I think and then one of the rumors that we're hearing is the unpopular one would be Legends deals are also considered to be, expendable.
Well, what are you going to do with these guys?
It goes back to what we said. It's not touchy feely. It's just straight business. They're wanting to do deals like strictly licensing deals, like back in the 90s. They want to be a content company, not a merch company. That kind of thing. So let Walmart sell the shirts. Just license the shirts to Walmart. Let Walmart produce them. Let Walmart make them.
Who owns Hulkamania? Who owns that? Does Vince own that?
I would have to look into it. I don't know. I don't off the top of my head. I don't know. But
let's say they put a Hulkamania shirt in Walmart. They don't have to pay Hogan.
Correct.
Because it's their property. I'm using it as an example.
Gotcha.
That's their property. They own it. And it's different. It's like NFL jerseys. I don't know how that works. That might be what we're coming to. Sports teams, licenses. This is where the money is.
Right. Well, my thing is it's easier for if Fox. Lots of hypotheticals here. If Fox were to purchase it, and they released the shirt, for any named wrestler, if they own the IP, they don't have to pay. Going forward on contracts, they could just set them up and be like, this is what we're paying you. End of discussion. You don't get royalties. We own the IP. Now, in scenarios where the other person came in and they purchased rights for so many years, etc. I know AJ's deal was that way. I believe that they own the IP for wrestling while he's under contract, something like that. So that's how they can do a lot of the shirts, etc. But overall, yeah, it's if a legend owns their rights, then yeah, they would have to pay them royalties if they wanted to release a shirt. But what if they just don't care? They're like, once you're gone, you're gone. Great point somebody brought up. Truth be told, after retirement, how many people really are merchandise movers, after they retire. There are some. We're not saying there's none, but in the grand scheme of things, how many really are there?
I mean, I think you could put a retro line out of maybe Savage, Hogan, Iron Sheik, something like that in Walmart, or just Walmart for an example. I'm not saying.
See, I'm going to say something a little, and it's not. I'm not meaning to be disrespectful, but Sheik would sell shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees because that's a wrestling. But how much shirts really is he going to drive in a Walmart?
Not much, but Walmart has a licensed content rack of everybody from Jimi Hendrix to Budweiser frogs. They got everything out there. They'll put a T-shirt on their wall for anyone.
Right, but that's my thing though. But if they're assuming all of that risk and they're going to do it, maybe that is what they do. Maybe they go out and license it out. But I think it's few and far between. Like the Hot Rod shirt still sells, the Roddy Piper shirt.
Yeah.
But if you put out a different Roddy Piper shirt, would it really sell?
No.
The Hulkamania shirt everybody wants. They want the yellow shirt with the Hulkamania across it. That's what I mean. There's exceptions to the rule. But once you're long gone, I mean, a lot of the wrestlers, I mean, let's be blunt. How many Ric Flair shirts are out there that are not in a wrestling store somewhere?
Do we count Hot Topic?
Sure, count Hot Topic.
But one, maybe.
But that's what I'm saying. Like on Pro Wrestling Tees, it makes sense. But if Ric Flair owns it, then that's it up to him. But again, the whole point of this is that's not what they're.
Wrestling's always been done a certain way, Nick.
If Fox gets it, it's not going to be done that way anymore. I'm just being bluntly that what Fox wants to do is they want to, I don't know if people remember, Fox wanted to buy UFC. But they want to run it strictly like a business, no loyalty to talent, kind of like what we're talking. Think about this. Similar to what we just talked about. Sheamus is really good friends with Triple H. Let's be blunt. A lot of people would argue that's why he's been there for so long.
Well,
okay, but if he's not selling merch and he's not moving the needle, and he's in Fox sees a contract that they just think doesn't work for them, Triple H, go fire your buddy. He's my buddy. We don't care. And then the legends like, oh, well, they paved the way. Okay, well, they didn't pave the way for us. We bought a business.
They're going to make new fans and not worry about old fans.
And that's
the way it's been done.
That's the argument, is that's kind of what they wanted to do, is that we'll screw the fans. We'll go and we'll make new fans. We'll produce a new fan base. But anyway, that's why ultimately UFC didn't go to them. They took less money to go to where they went versus, joining Fox, because they realized that Fox could just basically ride the product into the ground and then go out of business. It doesn't matter.
Well, yeah. Whoa. Are you saying if Fox doesn't profit, they just quit wrestling?
If they could liquidate, they could sell the assets off and do whatever, which is something that we discussed, before we came on, and we made a joke of, okay, let's say Vince pulls the trigger and he sells this thing. Let's say he gets a good deal. They, meet in the middle, the $7.3 billion evaluation. Let's say they get it about $6.5 million, somewhere in there. Let's call it 6 even. Fox rides this thing, and they don't do well with it. They run it worse, quote unquote, into the ground, and so that's just falling apart. Who's to say that? Well, first of all, let's go back before I say my statement I'm about to say. No, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Let me back up. So they sell it for $6 billion. They ride it into the ground. The valuation comes back. It's super damaged, and Vince McMahon can repurchase it at a much less number than it was sold for, and he could get it back as a private company and not as a public company anymore, and have total control again. And whether that be not necessarily for Vince, it could be Stephanie, it could be Triple H, Shane, whomever, purchase it back at a much lower number as a private company. And would that not be the ultimate redemption story, that the fans who could perceive Fox running the product into the ground worse, and then Vince could come back as the savior we all need to purchase the WWE to get it back?
He saves Luke Skywalker. Okay, Vince is vilified as the devil on all forms of social media, anywhere you hear people talking. And he could redeem himself? by coming back and buying a damaged property and bringing it back to whatever standard, as long as he keeps running it, because that's all people want.
Yeah.
They just want it there. Everybody's going to hurt if there's no WBE. End of story.
Yeah. Here's
they're a wrestling advertisement.
Here we are, May the 4th, recording this, and I don't even know if you meant to say what you just say. Vince could be the real life version of Darth Vader. Yes. He began as the young Anakin. He rose, he was good. Then he became, the whole saying, you live long enough, you become the villain.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he has become the villain, so now he is in the Empire, the Star Wars Empire. Exactly. So now he's risen as the ultimate evil as Darth Vader, but yet at the very end of his life, he could in Soul return, destroy the Emperor, and become, the babyface again before he passes. How ironic would that be?
Well, I mean, I've seen Vince lately. I hope they pump some Force Lightning or something into him.
Well, here's
workout.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. All that being said, we're sitting here told you all of the reasons this could work, why it should work. Ultimately, I think what could stand in the way is I don't know that Vince can let Fox run it that way, because I think no matter what your opinions of Vince are, I think there's always going to be some emotional attachment to the wrestling business, and I'm not sure he could be ready to sell to a company that would completely run it as a business with no affection, no emotional attachment to the legends of the day, of the past, and and run it with some heartfelt attachments.
He's still involved in everything down to catering, Nick.
Yeah,
he would have to let go of that.
Well, he would be completely cut. There is no if he's gone, if he sells it to Fox, they're gone.
Oh no, they have to get rid of him. They can't run it with Vince anywhere near it. That would be insane. He would make their lives miserable.
Well, I think he would be off to XFL, which to this day I'm still telling people that don't shovel the dirt on them yet. So from that, and that's a whole other topic for another day we'll have. So, but hey, while we're still here, while the WWE, let us know what your thoughts are on if Fox picked this deal up and what everything we just talked about at Tapped Out Pod on all social media, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Comment right below us. Obviously, as we always say, you can, just let us know in the comments if you're watching us on the Facebook Live feed. We're just curious to think what your thoughts are on the whole Fox. What if they could get their hands on WWE and what that potentially looks like. But before they do, we've got a pay-per-view coming up on the 10th, and that is Money in the Bank. And we've talked about this a little bit. We're not super interested in most of the card, but we are so intrigued by what, the whole cinematic approach that we got from the Boneyard and from Firefly Hunt. And we talked about, hey, that's some of the beauty that you could get out of Fox. Cinematic, seasonal TV. Yeah. But we've heard that now the interesting thing that has drawn us as this pay-per-view, the men and the women's Money in the Bank matches are going to occur simultaneously.
What if somebody gets confused and goes into the wrong ring?
No, they're hanging up on the same ring. Both cases are hanging above the same ring.
Are they over the same ring? I thought they were in separate rings.
I don't know. I haven't seen all. I think they're going to be hanging above one ring.
Oh my God.
What if the men and the women are there at the same time trying to get up to the side by side to the briefcases? What if they grab the wrong one?
Oh, wow.
So the match, this is just kind of real quick. It's Aleister Black, Rey Mysterio, Daniel Bryan, Baron Corbin, Otis, and yes, guys, we're recording Monday prior to Raw, so there's going to be some skewed. They're going to put Apollo Crews' replacement tonight.
AJ Styles.
That's everything we hear. Rumors are it could be AJ Styles. So hey, spoiler alert. So that's who we think it's going to be. The women's is Nia Jax, Asuka, Shayna Baszler, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Carmella. And it was funny. I first looked at that thing and kind of went, meh. And then you brought up a great point.
Brutality.
There's lots of brutality in this.
Asuka is so over. Imagine the crazy stuff she could do and all this cinematic stuff. Okay, we can see what kind of actress some of these women are. We could see somebody just almost, Money in the Bank matches are crazy, but if you make them super crazy, how about that? And they got to get up. Don't they have to go through the whole building first?
They start at the floor of the building of the WWE headquarters, and they're working their way all the way up.
What's going to happen to them while they're in the building?
They're going to fight their way through. There's booby traps. There's
sorry. I thought you were talking about Sonny's OnlyFans, $29.99. Booby traps all through the building.
Yeah.
Oh wow, this could be interesting, folks. I mean, you ain't never had this before. You want different. Well, they're giving you different.
That I shared that out when I put it on Facebook and was like, look, it's interesting. I mean, it's striking as you got to watch it because it's going to be something you haven't seen before.
Where was the biggest success of WrestleMania? Social media. You don't think this isn't going to draw a whole lot of buzz? They're trying to sell the company. You want to get people talking. Social media engagements are almost a marketable commodity, folks. When you think about it, if anybody you running a business, it's free advertising.
Yep.
Every time somebody posts about you.
You're 100% right, but I think I'm intrigued by it. I mean, I really am. Look, I'm not telling you it's going to be the greatest match of all time. I'm not going to tell you it's by far. I can probably list off more Money in the Bank matches that I think I'm going to be. In hindsight, I'll still probably say are better matches.
Oh yeah,
but it's just got all the potential in the world, man, to do something just so different. And that's what we, like you said, it's what we keep claiming we want. So let them give it to us. Put on your network and watch it. I mean, and see what you think. Because, I mean, it's the first thing that has me waffling between nothing has come close on a Sunday night since this Last Dance ESPN documentary on the Bulls. The 98 Bulls team has come out. This is going like, which one am I going to watch live? Which one I'm probably going to watch these matches live. Because I'm just curious.
They're going to be interesting.
Yeah, I watched the Last Dance stuff the next day on ESPN. I could, on the app. Because, by the way, folks, in case you hadn't figured out, that's how a lot of people are watching TV now. Is the next day or days later.
People don't sit in front of their boxes. My kids both have, in their bedrooms, like 43-inch TVs, which is roughly 2 times the size of the 19-inch I had as their age, with a bunch of dials and knobs and stuff. They never turn them on because of this. They just stand there and stare at their phones. They watch YouTubes there. If they watch television, they watch it there. My stepson has a laptop that's not much bigger than this phone that he carries around with him. My daughter carries a Switch. If they can't hold it in their hand, they really ain't interested in it.
Yeah.
They're not going to sit and watch in front of a big screen like old people do. We may be the last generation that buys televisions.
Big ones anyway.
Yeah.
Because eventually there'll be a VR unit that you put it on, and then essentially it is a big screen because it's right in front of your eyes.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I just, like I said, man, I'm intrigued by it. I think everybody should check it out, see what it's going to be. It's totally going to be different. The other thing that's, got me kind of intrigued is, All Elite Wrestling, AEW. Look, we've all had some struggles here as far as with everything going on. I totally get it. I read an article on the chairshot, that kind of, it asked a question, and I just didn't think it was really, was it a fair question? I guess every question's fair, but it's tough to evaluate what I'm about to say. And the question was, is John Moxley's AEW title run, is it a bust? Because of everything that's happened. I mean, it's come off really lackluster. First and foremost, your thoughts? I mean, do you think it is or hasn't been?
Well, okay, we're in such a weird spot right now. Give him the belt, gets a concussion, pandemic, blah, blah, blah. You can't wrestle. You can wrestle. We got to tape it in Norcross. We're going to Florida. Nobody can have a good title reign under that. Those circumstances, doesn't matter. Now, has it worked out? Has he been on TV?
That's the ultimate issue is I think that you can't get enough out of him because, like you said, there was the concussion at Revolution, then the pandemic breaks out, so he's not get physical, you know, and I think that's kind of what we've grown accustomed to. But to my ultimate question, I don't think it's been a bust. I just don't think there's a whole lot more that you could ask for out of anybody right now because of the situation. You know, can they get some of the momentum back with him on their championship? Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah.
It's going to take some good booking. It's going to take some good opponents. I know he's getting tangled up with with Jake Hager. I've never been sold on Hager, and it's not, again, I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying I've not been sold on him. Because ultimately, let's be honest with you, the reason Jericho had to drop the belt to Moxley was because he was going on tour.
Yes.
Well, that reason's gone now.
Yes.
So the problem that I think what I foresaw the problem with Moxley, it's not as bad if Jericho's not on TV and they're not re-engaging, but Jericho's there because he's doing commentary because the tour doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So
now he's been great on commentary.
Oh no, phenomenal.
Yeah. I love him on commentary, and God, he'll have a job the rest of his life after this run doing commentary somewhere. He'll be the next Jesse Ventura probably. Will the title run continue? I don't know. I don't understand why it's not been put on guys like Omega. It's one thing to be a team player, Nick, but if you never handle the football and you're a great player and somebody who's making a lot of money, it doesn't make any sense to have you on that team.
Oh yeah, no, and that's my other one is I think that they could have put it back on Jericho. Jericho and Omega should have been followed up more. I think we talked about this a little bit, and I just kind of asked the question of if Omega wasn't going to be the face of the company, or he wasn't going to be one of literally the top tier, because to pay all due respect, he hasn't been used that way.
No, he's not been used well.
That's debatable. I mean, I get it. Some people like what they're doing. I just don't. My thing was if this is where he was going to be used, and let's be blunt, he's an EVP. He's at fault for where he's at as much as anybody. Why didn't he just go to WWE?
Creative control, wanted to be with his friends, and they were going to make plenty of money. So why not? I mean, I think
Myron, he had heard the deal was he was going to be in a WrestleMania match with AJ Styles for the title if he goes to the WWE.
The thing with him going to WWE, it would have taken 2 years to build him. Okay.
No. He was going to be in. There was him debuting at Rumble and him being in Mania the year, months later, he would be in a match.
Like that'd be rushing it. He would need time to build before anybody over here knew who he was.
But that's your indie mark match on Mania. We always get one every year. There's an indie mark match.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been your match. They gave us Nakamura and AJ super quick.
Yeah.
And it was because the internet mark guy was like, oh yeah, this is the match. It's going to be, and guess what? Arguably, they probably would have given us the best match of that night. But guess what? That's how you get him over to the rest of the world. If he comes in and he beats AJ Styles at WrestleMania for a title, he's made. Down here, I mean, look, it's a can't. You're right. It's possibly you can't win for losing here, because if he comes in and he's winning every night, everybody's like, see, the guys are booking themselves to be the top. But my thing is the luster and the shines come off. And I think if nothing else, that's who should have been, feuding with the Jericho out of the gate. But hey, Moxley's not a bust. I just have never seen Moxley as the champion.
No.
So maybe that's why I don't think it's a bust. I don't think he's any more or less than I ever thought it would be. But it's at the same time, I do want to be respectfully and say it's at no fault of his own because of the situations we've fallen into with the concussion and the pandemic. So,
I agree.
So if you think he's a bust, let us know. Comments, folks. That's what the comment section's for. To let us know your thoughts on Moxley's run so far as AEW champion. But it's all about the fans, and that's what the next topic I want to get into. Dude, we're talking fans are potentially going to be let back into WWE, AEW, whatever wrestling shows as soon as this week.
Mic those bastards up so we can sound loud again, because you need that crowd reaction. Could put some mics on them, mic the crowd hard, make the crowd noise big. That's what it's missing. That'll bring the pep back. You can't have a cheap pop with no pops.
Well,
Yeah.
the 25% capacity is still going to be more, and let's be blunt. That's what we're talking about. Why AEW is so much better, right? Is they got those wrestlers around the ring, Danny, and
Yeah.
the rest of those
Yeah,
talents
that has
around the
been
ring.
very convincing.
So even if you can just think about if they could just double that number, especially at the Performance
Daly's
Center.
Place is bigger than a Performance Center, isn't it?
Do what?
Daly's Place, is that what they call
Oh
it?
yeah. I wasn't talking about there. I just meant if you were WWE, if you were in the Performance Center, you could just double that number.
Yeah.
I think that noise, and like you said, put some mics in some good places and raise that crowd volume up a little bit, because then you can get the diehardest of the diehards that'll be crazy nuts.
Well, you've got your NXT crowd down there. That's a loyal house crowd in Orlando. You can get them to come in. I would pepper Plants and NXT guys in there, and keep the fans going. During the commercials, bring a hype man out, whatever it takes.
Bring an NXT guy that the crowd, bring the NXT talents who aren't on TV. Yes. That road crew team.
Yep.
So I'm right there with you. I think that's genius. But the question, I guess, we've kind of shied away a lot of this, but I did want to ask you what your thoughts on it be about even having, because what should they even be doing this?
Here's my take on it, and this is going to be my straight up take on it. I was out of work for 14 days, not because I was sick, but it was a prophylactic quarantine. Not that I was quarantined with a bunch of rubbers, but I have a weakened immune system due to some health conditions I have. So they wanted me out of work for 14 days just to prevent me from possibly getting infected. I work in the public healthcare sector. I deal with people all the time. I'm not quite sure we were ready to go open yet. I'm not saying 100%. I would have personally liked to seen it gone to the middle of May, maybe the end of June. That's a personal opinion. This is not political. This is just me giving my opinion. But folks, it's open. The law has permitted it now, so might as well. I mean, folks, if they get sick, that's just, the situation we're in. And it hurts to say that, but it is just the situation we're in.
You're almost like a user or buyer beware. If you're
risking
it, and you go,
you know what you're getting into. And so,
and ultimately,
the wrestlers, I think, because they have to work, which I think is a risk. But people who want to go to this kind of stuff, well, you're on your own.
My only concern is I feel like with all of the statements, the way they're worded and things like that, I think the personal injury attorneys are frothing at the mouth for this, because they are putting essentially all of the liability on the businesses or the entertainments or the companies. That if you get sick, you chose to go, and then they didn't do their job to uphold the standards to keep you from getting sick. So now you're potentially going to see lawsuits flying at small businesses, or because it's not the government's fault anymore.
It's illegal. It's a civil court, not a federal court type thing.
That's my major concern.
So. Just be careful.
Yeah. So, well, man, let's move on. We want to talk a little bit about George Indy Talk. This week, man, the highlight of George Indy Talks is going to be surprising to some. If you haven't seen it, I've shared it on Facebook. David Ali put out a video this week. He did it with Garrett, and I'm not sure who shot it. I'm not sure who edited it. I probably got an idea, but it was so awesome. The struggles and the internal, struggles of David Ali, and the all of the evil side of him trying to fight its way out. Man, it was classic gold.
Well, it did something very important. Well, it did two very important things. One, it kept David Ali and professional wrestling in people's minds during this off time, which is so important, because if you don't want people to forget you, you got to stay up there. You got to be in their vision nowadays. People forget things fast. Their attention span is short. He got himself out there. Very popular video. People getting over it. And he also addressed the fact that there's some people that may not come back. We've been off a long time. Wrestling's been off a long time. We have not been in the car going to show in months. I haven't had a salty hot dog and a can of Diet Coke from a vendor at a show in months. I haven't got to sit there and eat boiled peanuts and talk to wrestlers and talk to the fans I know. The camaraderie's gone. And I can see where if you were distanced to that for a moment, it would feel weird. You know, we've had hard times doing the show in this time. We've had loss of I'm not going to say alienation of affection, but it's the same kind of thing. You miss it. You miss getting to go. You miss getting to have the fun of it. And I can see people reevaluating, you know, what they're doing in this time period.
I agree. And that's, you know, kind of said going to come back to the Ali thing is, yes, it's kind of kept him in the forefront. It's kept him, you know, in the public so people don't forget and move on. Forwarding his storyline, forward the story arc, you know, the struggles. But then the follow up to your second point of that is this week, you know, Kenny Woolwine put out a post that he's, you know, going to walk away from wrestling after, was it 27 years or something?
Man, he is a great commentator. He's one of the guys that won commentator to be in the Georgia Wrestling History Awards. He's a staple there at the Landmark Arena. It's going to be tough without him. You know, it's going to be a big loss to wrestling, but I can understand it. You know, I get where he's coming from.
That was my question that I wanted to ask you know, a lot of the guys. I mean, is this potentially a time where you're going to see more guys walk away the longer this stretches out? Because do you get so hooked on the weekend to weekend to weekend to bookings, no matter how much they're paying, how little they're paying, but at the same, so you get away from it long enough that you're kind of realizing maybe it's, and I say this with all due respect to the wrestling business, but it's just not worth it anymore.
Maybe you're making more money doing Uber Eats on the weekends. You know, maybe
you just enjoy being at home with your family.
Maybe you're at home with your family. You know, maybe you get a new girlfriend or something. I can understand why people would step away. I don't go in the ring. I don't take the bumps and feel the pain. I could get that too. Maybe you feel good all again, guys. I don't know. I hope for the best. I hope people don't put away a passion that they enjoy, but I don't want them to do it just for me as a fan. If they can't do it anymore, don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But man, you can't go over the value of keeping your public image up. Matt Sells is doing it. Kyle Matthews is doing it. Keep yourself in people's eyes so they don't forget you. You've gone away now for a while. They're going to miss you now. Get yourself in the thing. Make them want to see you again. And so when you come back strong. Promotions have got to start doing this too.
Yeah. I think that's ultimately like I said, the big challenges of out of sight, out of mind. And it's not just wrestlers, but it's promoters, promotions. You know, the longer they're out of the eye, like kind of thinking of other ways to be seen and stay relevant. I mean, let's be blunt. That's a challenge right now, is to stay relevant.
Yep.
And stay relevant smart. I'm not going into this a whole lot anymore. We've had this conversation a couple times. Be smart about how you're staying relevant. I mean, don't alienate a part of your crowd just because you're bored and you got to talk. I mean, so speaking of, you know, keeping your stuff out there, I wanted to, before we got out of here, I wanted to plug you guys. You had just done this past week, the Wrestling Nerdcast with Huckabee and with Mika. Their show they have over there. You can find it on Apple Podcasts. Well, actually, you know what I'll do? I'm going to share the link. I'll post a link on the Apple Podcast.
Mika wasn't there, but me and Huckabee had a great wrestling talk. I think y'all will enjoy that. It's going to be on the Wrestling Nerdcast. Nick will post a link to it. A lot of fun doing something different, changing something up. Looking forward to being on a podcast. I enjoy it. You know, I enjoy being a guest. Let somebody else quiz me. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you brought it up. It's something like we've been talking about kind of off air together. Is like, you know, maybe we can do some other stuff. I mean, some other podcasts, not ours. Like I bluntly tell, because people ask me like, why don't we do more podcasts, like on our stuff? And my thing is, dude, it's a lot of work if you do it right. It's a lot of work. Pre-production, production, you know, getting it out, putting it out there.
Will take half a day, especially I know for you.
Yeah.
To produce it, and the time we have to do the pre-show and the phone calls and the contacts and the notes and stuff. I mean, I spent 2 hours last night taking notes just for an interview I have coming up. I'll reveal that later. But it's like a job sometimes, and I love it, but I just physically don't have the time.
Yeah, like you said, going on other shows and basically them asking the questions. It's kind of what I'm looking at. I reached out to our buddy JC Flair. I said, hey, man, I'd love to do his show with him, just kind of sit around, chat some wrestling or whatever. James Caleb Kitchens has reached out. I'm going to be doing one of his Evolved review shows. We're probably going to go over like Dark Side of the Ring episode.
Yeah.
That's coming down the road. I'll let you know exactly when that's coming, but that's the kind of stuff we're looking at. If you've got a podcast and you just want to come and talk some wrestling, I'm not. Here's the crazy thing. I'm not looking forward to do some that are bunches of research going into it, kind of thing that I've got to study a bunch. I mean, if you want to sit down and we're going to talk about wrestling, just kind of back and forth, you come up with the topics and I can talk and answer the questions. I mean, but just like you said, coming up with the topics, coming up with ideas, that's really not what I'm looking to do. I'm going to be blunt. I'm not going to speak for you. That's just not what I do that enough here. But I'd love to do it and do some more. So reach out to us, at Tapped Out Pod on social media, and of course, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Let us know. And that's either one of us. You can just reach us both there. Yeah. Just shoot us a message and we'll get it lined up. But hey, that's before we get out of here. I do want to plug everything that is as usual. Patreon.com/tappedOutPod. Because this bad boy, like for example, if you were a member, this show's going to be available on Monday because of our schedule. We're not going to get into why, but we were recording Tuesday. Or we were going to record Tuesday, moved it to Monday for personal reasons. So if you would have gotten this episode Monday at patreon.com/tappedOutPod, of course, that's the best place, I think, because you get a lot of cool other stuff. I'm going to start doing a little more post polls and questions and things for people to interact with us there as well. But always you can subscribe to us on any of the podcast platforms, and that is Apple Podcast, iHeartMedia, Spotify, Player FM, you name it. Any podcast player, we're pretty much there. And then everybody's been bugging us lately about the YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, yes. If you want to subscribe and you want us to give us watch it over there, if that's your thing, awesome. Just search Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast on the YouTube and just subscribe. We appreciate that. We love the more subscribers we get, the better it looks, I guess. They don't pay squat on YouTube for wrestling shows, so we've never really promoted it a lot, but we'll do it.
The archives, the deep dives, all the content is there.
Yeah, lots and lots of episodes you can dig through and watch on there. The most popular one, I always want to tell you, most people don't even realize, the most popular episode we've ever done on YouTube are the two favorite ones are Bullet Bob Armstrong's interview and Ron Fuller's interview. Those continue, and it's been years since we've done those, and draw phenomenal numbers. It's just crazy. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so check us out over YouTube as well. But of course, ProWrestlingTees.com. Get a shirt. We always appreciate it. I want to put all the links up to stuff.
Where'd you get that shirt
at? This one is actually a rarity. You probably noticed. This is actually the autographed one.
They offer that one time a year at Pro Wrestling Tees.
This was his 50, the birthday when they did.
Wow.
So, and it's got a special, my chair's blocking it in the back. It's got the thing on the back of his birthday and everything. But anyway, so yeah, check them out. But, ProWrestlingTees.com/Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. You'll find us. Actually, believe it or not, we're so easy to find on there. If you just take Tapped Out, boop, we come up on the thing. So that's everything I've got, man. I don't want to drag on too long. I know we're getting close, and I know you've got that other interview coming up pretty quick after this. Be on the lookout. It's going to be a very interesting interview. We'll give you some notes later on who it's going to be. But hey, anything else, man, before we get out of here?
Stay safe. Wash your hands. Be good to each other. We may not all be on the same ship, but we're all in the same ocean. Okay? Peace.
Well, man, if that's all you got, man, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.